This meeting is called to order. Thank you everyone for joining, and Happy New Year. Can we take a roll, please?
Chairperson, oh, I'm sorry, let me start here. Commissioner Green,
Here.
Commissioner Maninder Singh,
Present.
Commissioner Raj Singh, Vice Chairperson Pfister, Chairperson Nayar.
Present. Let's stand for Pledge of Allegiance. Miss, can you please read the public comment statement, and are there any public comments at this time? Okay.
So persons wishing to address the Parks and Recreation Commission during the public comment portion of the agenda may complete the public comment form, which is located on the table at the back of the boardroom. No action or discussion shall be taken on any item raised during public comment, except that commissioners or staff members may briefly respond to statements or questions. If a member of the public wishes to comment on an agenda item, public comment form should be submitted prior to the time the item is announced. Completion of the form is voluntary. Persons that do not fill out the form but still wish to speak will be allowed to do so. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Please turn off all electronic devices and please no personal attacks.
Thank you. Gonna move to item 4, approval of minutes. Are there any comments or changes to the minutes from our last meeting? Or if there are no changes to the minutes, is there a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting on December 20th, 2023?
Motion to approve.
So, can you repeat that? Sorry.
Motion to approve the minutes.
All right. Commissioner Green moves to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, Commissioner Foster seconds. All in favor of signify by saying A. Commissioner Green,
Aye.
Commissioner Maninder Singh,
Aye.
Commissioner Foster.
Aye.
Commissioner Raj Singh. Aye. Aye. Minutes approved. Thank you.
Please make sure your microphones are on. Oh.
Okay, moving to policy and action item 5.A. Approve the final draft of the athletic field rental policies and recommend to board for adoption.
I have a presentation for you. Hopefully you've all had a chance to review the draft. Okay, so staff recommend that the Mountain House Parks and Recreation Commission approve the final draft of the athletic field rental policies. So previously, staff presented the commission with the current policies at your regular meeting in October. And staff presented the commission with a draft version of the policy at your meeting in November that combined all of the policies with the current policies and included recommendations for updates. Staff provided the commission with red line copies of the current park and field policies. The red lines indicate outdated and conflicting policies that we have currently. And some of the policies pertain to special events, tennis, or picnic rentals, all of which have their own respective rental policies. So the only thing that we won't be changing in any of the policies are the fees, because we'll be bringing those back after we develop a pricing guideline policy and we establish new fees. So staff provided the commission with a comprehensive draft that allows the renter to understand the rental process. So new and updated topics include the new verification, nonprofit verification process. We updated the group classifications. There's a new field allocation process, updated field use, new concession information, updated fees and discounts, and updated rules of conduct. So I'll just be going through page by page. Hopefully you've all had a chance to review it at some point. I'll try and go as slow as possible. We'll open it up for questions and discussion afterwards, and I can go back to the pages. So what I'd like to do is I'm just going to highlight some of the new and updated policies that are included in this draft. If I'm not highlighting, it's because we've already had those policies or they're part of the existing municipal code. So we've added this weather hotline condition because one of the things we would like to start doing is closing fields when the weather is inclement. So we will have an official way for the renter to be able to view if the field is closed. We thought we'd create either a hotline or a web page or a combination of both of them. We have a notice of non-use of field and releasing of fields. Staff will keep monitoring that. Anytime a field is closed or canceled, staff will ensure that it's booked by somebody else or it's open or that the public knows that it's open. So on to page 8. We have this nonprofit organization verification form. Again, this new process will be used to ensure that nonprofits are, one, that they're actual nonprofits, that they've filed with the state of California. Number 2, that they're located in Mountain House, so they receive the discounted fees. And this just doesn't mean that the title says Mountain House. They actually have the principal address is located in Mountain House. And number 3, it ensures that a percentage of its players are Mountain House residents. And for classifications, these classifications ensure that any sanctioned group get priority based on what the commission and the board values. And what I mean by that is, does the commission and the board value youth sports over adult sports? Do you value nonprofits over commercial users? Do you value residents over non-residents? So that's what the classification does. It prioritizes what you value in our community.
Can I ask question? Or we had later on?
Actually, because it's so long, why don't we do questions page by page?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
better.
If you want, would you like me to go back to the previous page spread? If anybody has any questions about that before we go on. If not, I'll just move on.
No, I think I have a question, page 9.
Okay.
And my question is about nonprofit and commercial. So even if it's designated as a nonprofit, they could still be conducting these programs for profit. So how do we address that?
Sure, yeah, a commercial user can be a nonprofit or a private citizen or a for-profit business. It can be any of those.
Okay,
Our definition of commercial is anything where an organization accepts money for any kind of, whether they're fees or instructor costs or membership fees or anything to play.
right.
Pay
Pay-
to
pay
play.
to play.
Yeah,
So you could be a nonprofit, but you could still take money for pay to play. And so then in that case, it's considered a commercial and it doesn't get priority over another nonprofit.
no, so in the classifications in Group B, as long as you're a youth nonprofit sports organization and you can verify that you're nonprofit, you can verify you're in Mountain House, you can verify you have 75% residents, you can still be commercial user. So Group C are residents and persons outside of the district, and Group D are commercial users who are not able to provide the nonprofit status. So you can see under Group D, it defines it that way.
Okay, got it. Understood.
One question, Laura, if,
Just
Sorry, go
1 second. Go ahead, Mr. Sharma. I'm done, so you go ahead.
thank you. So it says that 75% members that reside in Mountain House. Is that verifiable?
Yes, because they're supposed to submit rosters of who is participating in their program.
So is it based on participants where they live
Yes.
or, but that's what it is, right?
That's what it is, yeah.
Okay. So if a nonprofit from outside Mountain House who's not registered here will fall under Group D?
Correct.
Have you, just general question is that, have you seen like in other park and recreation commission, for example, Tracy or San Ramon, do they qualify like this, that LUSD district and existing, they have separate?
Actually, this classification is pretty standard amongst most municipalities.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Green?
Hi, Laura, what is our verification process for a nonprofit? Is it just their paperwork or do we verify that the nonprofit is in good standings?
There's a new application. It's just a simple one-page application. And with that, they have to submit something, articles of incorporation or a statement of information from the state, which shows the address. And then the third piece of that will be the rosters that they attach.
So if they have their proof of nonprofit status, maybe from 3 years ago,
Mhm.
we'll accept that because it might not be, it might not be current because you have to be in good standings.
Yeah.
You know what I
it-
mean? So
it
even if
should
you
be
have.
current. Yep. And when it is current, it'll stay on file with us for 1 year.
Okay.
Oh, and that includes the insurance as well.
Do we verify that though, that it's in good standings before we allow them to
Yes.
rent our facilities?
Yes, and I believe we had some discussion at the last meeting about that as well, when if you've applied for it, you may not be an official.
Right.
Yeah, so staff will be verifying that.
Yeah, it's real important because you can get a status, but it's very important that you keep up with it through the IRS. And a lot of
Correct.
times people don't, but they still have the paper.
Yes,
Okay.
and there are ways to verify that
I
also.
mean, the simplest way is to go onto the IRS website and
Mhm.
they have live information. So it kind of makes sense that they will have to submit their certificate and then you verify that that certificate is A, genuine, B, live and in good standing.
Yeah.
So that's a procedural step, basically. Thank you.
I think it's important that we verify all
Mhm,
nonprofits are in good standings.
Right. Again, it goes back to what do you and the board value? Do you really want to ensure that you're letting verified Mountain House nonprofit groups receive priority, receive discounts? It's really
And
important.
not just Mountain House groups, but of course, Mountain House groups, but not just them, all nonprofits that want to lease our facilities should definitely be in good standings.
If an outside group, an outside nonprofit group wants to rent here, they're just automatically considered non-resident. They don't receive any sort of discount at that point.
No, not discount, just, you mean even if it's a out-of-town nonprofit,
Yes.
they don't
and
receive any type of discount? Thought
I
they did.
believe from the previous
It's
conversation.
very minimal, but I just thought that they.
Yeah,
did.
no, my understanding was that they won't receive preference priority, but they will still receive the discount.
I think you're right. And I think we address that later on in the packet. So
And-
we'll
and-
circle back to
And
that.
I do
one.
like what Rana is saying is if we nonprofit, they are claiming to be a nonprofit. I think just the sheer credibility to be able to verify that, because if somebody tries to masquerade as a nonprofit and they're not really, in all honesty, they should be blacklisted and not allowed to do anything in the town, because that's just a breach of trust. You know,
It's
So-
important, that nonprofit status is important and it's valuable and we need to keep them up if we have them. And so I just think it's important to make sure that people that say they're a nonprofit are really in good standings nonprofit.
I might want to bring up one more issue that you might want to vet it out. What if you have a nonprofit that's located in Tracy, for example, but 75% of their participants are Mountain House residents? How would you like to classify them?
I think they would, for me, I feel like if 75%, and that's a good question because there are a lot of Mountain House kids that do outside sports in Tracy because we don't offer that at this point. So if it's 75% Mountain House kids, I would say that they get the same treatment as a Mountain House resident. That's just my opinion.
So in that case, on the verification form, would we require that the nonprofit primary's address be in Mountain House? Or do you just want to go off of the rosters?
I would say just off the rosters, because if it's a Tracy nonprofit and the address is in Tracy, but you have 100 kids and 75 of them are from Mountain House, that's significant for us. What do you guys think?
Well, so I think that might create a situation where there are 70. So Tracy has a lot more sports organization and they can overwhelm our system here. So I'm not sure if that is that prudent to allow them to be a Tracy nonprofit and be able to use our fields here.
That is a really good discussion. That's something to really think about, because if our kids are benefiting from it at this point, something we don't offer at this point, maybe that's something that we should really discuss and consider, because it does give our kids something to do with.
Yeah, I mean, so right now we have, basketball leagues, offered in Mountain House. We have baseball travel teams, basketball travel teams, and we have swimming and everything. So there'd be real corner case that something is not offered in Mountain House. So, but I mean, we don't have to make the decision right now. You can still, if there are anything we'd like to change, we can still recommend to Laura to make those changes. So I think.
So what is the actual question? Should we give Tracy nonprofits? What's the actual question? Because I think we're kind of
The
getting.
question is, do you value the roster above having the nonprofit organization be a Mountain House organization?
Okay. It goes back to, if you're in Mountain House, your address has to be Mountain House.
Right now, we have it set up, it has to be a Mountain House address and it has to be 75% roster.
So I think, so if it's Tracy, then it doesn't apply. That doesn't apply, even though our roster is
What if
75%.
the Tracy roster has 75% Mountain House residents? What if they're serving more Mountain House participants? So you could say they have to be a Mountain House organization or have 75% of its participants be in Mountain House. Or it could be an and/or situation.
Yeah,
I
yes,
think
Mr. Chairman.
if we have seen, I came from South Bay, so I've seen that. I think if we treat them as, we give them discount, but treat them as outside Mountain House, like non-resident. Otherwise, we will be constraining our facilities too much, right? And so it's just like resident. If I'm a resident, I open Mountain House in Mountain House, resident. Someone else outside city, nonprofit, should be treated as same as non-resident, but get the discount.
Yes, Mr. Singh.
So there is a bit of a nuance to this, which is basically that it is entirely possible an organization, nonprofit organization who is serving only Mountain House may have an address in Tracy. And I'll explain the reason for that is because a lot of insurance companies will not insure you on a residential address, and not having a residential. So if somebody wanted a mailbox address kind of a thing, they would have to get a Tracy address. So an office address. So they may have their official address, mailing address, official address effectively in Tracy. But for all intents and purposes, they could be a Mountain House organization serving only and only Mountain House. So I would suggest that we lean towards the roster, which basically fulfills the actual purpose, so that this organization is serving Mountain House. If they're more than 75%, regardless of whether they're in Tracy or Mountain House, fundamentally they are serving the community on Mountain House, and hence they should have the priority, as opposed to just tying it too much down to the address. Yes, of course, if their address is somewhere in the Bay Area, then it's a different game. I think Tracy is close enough for somebody in Mountain House to have a mailing address in Tracy.
And I can tell you that we have nonprofits that meet all those criteria. We have some from the Bay Area that serve only Mountain House. We have Mountain House that serves
Okay.
Mountain House. We have
I got-
Tracy that serves Mountain.
That's a good data point, because then I think roster is the important piece. If they're predominantly serving Mountain House, because that's what we care for. We don't care where their physical address is. It's not as if we're going to gain some tax benefit from them being registered here. If they are predominantly, in my opinion, if they are serving this community, and that should be our criteria to decide whether they have priority or not.
So, yeah, I mean, I think any organization coming to Mountain House, they have a good intentions, but over the time, it is a possibility that the roster becomes a mix of 50-50, or, goes lower than 75%. So, but there's no way to, to check that or verify what the, actual roster is 3 months later or 5 months later. So, I'm not sure how we address this right now, so maybe.
Verifying is a very difficult part. They can give submission, but then it can change the next season or something. They can still submit the same roster.
As far
So I
as
think
we're-
resident is a good criteria.
the participants' residency, correct?
Well, but that, no, the nonprofit address,
Their principal address
principal address.
right now in our policy here, it says
Yes.
principal address must be Mountain House.
Mountain House. That's a good standard. Because people get nonprofit at home too. I mean, there are a lot of nonprofit working from home. In Mountain House.
The question that the comment came from Mr. Seer earlier about insurance. And insurance is an important criteria for any nonprofit or any organization or individual inside of this policy. I think if that comment has validity, I'm not an insurance agent, so I don't know. Mr. Seer has done this before, so he knows much better. Then I think we should look at that. more
From what I understand, the organization receives the insurance, not the,
So,
Homeowner.
not all, every insurance has their own policy. There are insurance companies out there that will not provide insurance to nonprofits that are, have an address, which is a residential address. Not all, I mean, it doesn't mean that you can't get insurance. But I have dealt with this in the past myself,
Mhm.
where the option was between paying $700 or $2,000 for $2,000 to an insurance company, which will happily insure you with a residential address, and $700 for an insurance company that would need you to have a commercial address.
So
So-
Laura, so for example, we have a mentoring program that we run in Fremont. Our nonprofit address is Fremont, the business. If I wanted to bring that mentoring program to Mountain House to serve Mountain House youth, then I wouldn't get that status because my nonprofit address is in Fremont, but I'm serving the community where I live. And I think it's more important to let the residents be able to serve the communities that they live in. I've had my nonprofit since 2006. So should I have to change everything because I've been living in Mountain House? That, you know what I mean? That's a good question. We have a lot of people, and that's another thing that we should discuss too, is we have a lot of people that before they moved here, served the communities that they were in, and now they want to serve the communities they live in, but their status is in where they started it. So it's a good question. You know,
Yeah,
I
I-
don't feel like just because you started your nonprofit in Mountain House, you should have exclusive rights to Mountain House because we have so many residents here that have a lot of good things to bring to our community, and we shouldn't limit them because of their address, or a lot of them use PO boxes.
Well, yeah, I see pros and cons both ways. And so mentoring is a little different than, using the parks. So you really necessarily don't have to use a park or a rental facility for mentoring. So, but no, I see
But
still see
it
your
would go
point.
under the same,
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I'm saying?
Yes.
It's either all or none. You know, we
Right.
can't, if we try to cut everything up like that, then it's gonna be kind of hard.
Right.
But even if you leave it as is, the only difference here is the fees that you would have to pay. And you get a bit of priority, right?
It would be your classification would change for
You would get-
priority of
Yeah.
a field.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, I mean, only classification priority changes and the fees changes a little bit, I guess, which is not a huge difference one way or the other, so.
I mean, it would not exclude them from providing that service at all. They would still be able to provide service, but under a different classification.
Right, the
That's
priority
what I'm
would,
trying to say.
would change.
Yes, Ms. Green.
You made a good point. There is a difference between the field use and the mentoring use. It is, it's a big difference. However, we still gotta kind of keep it one way or
I
another.
should mention that most of these policies will carry over into facilities and tennis courts and
So now, okay, so let's, I think yeah, so now I think the question is only that you can still provide the service. It's just your classification is different, and you might pay more. Is that accurate? You pay more if your classification is different from group A to group C or group D.
let me jump to the discounts and just take a quick look. It does change the discount.
Discount.
So when we get to that on page 18, you can have a discussion about that as well.
Okay, so I'm in the favor of leaving the way it is because it's not going to exclude anyone. It's just your classification is different.
It would exclude an outside nonprofit who serves mostly Mountain House residents. That's what it would exclude.
So Laura, I have a question on the 75%. So how does this work? Do the nonprofit, they provide like a report of like, here's all the list of people?
Just a roster of all of your participants.
Do we
that's all.
like validate that to make sure that?
Yeah,
Okay, so they can't just put like Joe Smith who lives in wherever, like we actually validate that, the CSD? Okay.
Yep.
All right, just want to make sure.
and we trust the applicant. We will do as much verification as we can, but we'll trust the applicant's rosters.
But that goes both ways too, because you can have a Mountain House nonprofit that bring in other kids that don't live in Mountain House.
Right, and then they would not meet any of our criteria.
Right, so I mean, it's kind of double-edged sword, so we just
I think the question to ask yourselves, so we can move on, is you value providing priority to the majority of people on the roster being Mountain House residents? Or do you really want the principal address to be Mountain House first and then the rosters be 75% Mountain House? So
Yeah, there is merit to the way it is set up in the long run, I believe. I am slightly leaning more towards the roster is more important, but I can think of a situation
mhm.
where, once we reach 60,000 residents, and other
Constraint.
people taking up.
We have very limited facility here. That's
Yeah.
number one.
Yeah.
Number two, there are many nonprofits who are not 501c, right?
Mhm.
They charge like commercial. They say, oh, we are nonprofit, but they are not 501c.
Then they're not a nonprofit.
No, I'm
Yeah.
just, yeah,
Yeah,
those
so
guys-
that, no, they're not, if they're not a 501c3, they're not a
right.
nonprofit.
Constraint, the facility is very big issue. I was looking at, I know we are not on tennis yet, but tennis has already issues because of space. We might see the same thing, outsiders coming, booking, and residents won't have it. I think we want to give residents first preference.
That's kind of, first of all, residents will get first priority pretty much in anything we do based on the information that we put out to the residents. I don't really believe that we're just gonna have an influx of people from around the neighboring cities bringing their nonprofits into Mountain House and their kids into Mountain House just to use our facilities. I feel like if there is a nonprofit that is coming in to bring something else, and not just the fields, but that can bring value to our residents and our youth, then I don't have a problem with it.
I think it's 75% of residents being on the roster is a very high bar. Yeah, for an outsider, it's even higher. So they would be bringing some really good value to the community to be able to get 75% of their roster on to their, as opposed to a local is embedded if it was an outside organization, yeah. So, I mean, that's good service for the community. My suggestion would be that if we find down the road in a couple of years' time where that rule is being abused and it's actually counterproductive, then we should consider revisiting at that time. But fundamentally, an organization that's serving and on their roster, 75% of the people on the roster are Mountain House residents. That is qualification enough, in my opinion, for them to have priority.
Let's think about another scenario. What if there is an organization which is local, non-profit, 75% roster, but its prices are exorbitant, people can't really afford. There's another non-profit which can prove to you, the district, that their roster is also 75%, but their prices are more affordable. That is why their roster has more people. What do we think about that scenario? Right.
I think that's a good point, because if we do limit that, then we're giving people just a blank check to charge. But I mean, and also too, I know we've had some football teams that couldn't get enough residents, and they had to fold the original Mustangs because we didn't have enough residents that would play in Mountain House. And most Mountain House parents take their kids outside of Mountain House for sports. So that's another thing that we need to think about also, is that what are we going to do to get 75% of Mountain House residents, youth, to participate in the sports that we want to create. We've had a lot of failed,
Right,
So in that scenario, let's say we say the roster is more important to us. There would be roster for a specific event, right?
No, just from the organization.
So let's say they did only one event in whole season.
Mhm.
How would they prove that they would have to do one before they get the status, right? If it's an outside organization, how would they prove to the district that they should be considered as a
At the
group-
time
group
they
B?
submit their application, they have to provide their current, at that time, roster. If it's 75% or more Mountain House residents, they would be verified.
Okay, so they wouldn't have to have any prior events?
No.
Okay,
I think you said participant, Laura, or the member. Participant of those event, you're saying? So someone is doing this, let's say soccer.
It's both. It's it's both and or both and. So if you're a member of the Mountain House Little League, you're a participant, you're also a member of the Mountain House Little League.
so you would be considered as a roster member.
So that
But-
roster
Yeah.
that they would provide me with the list of all of the children that are in the Little League, we would have to verify that they're mostly Mountain House residents.
So, Laura, let me just get this one thing straight. So if we go with the way it is written right now, so we don't, so all the nonprofits would fall under section Group B as long as they have 75% Mountain House residents. Is that correct?
That is
That's-
correct. I can tell you, though, I do have some nonprofits that are not, principal address is not in Mountain House.
Yeah.
But
They're-
99% of their players
Those
are.
Okay,
So under this policy, as I've drafted it now.
Yeah.
They would be considered Group D.
and see,
And-
that's what I
okay.
mean. They should be, if they're serving Mountain House residents in our community, then they just because their address is not, if it's a PO Box 555 Tracy Boulevard, but they're serving us,
Mhm.
they should be in status B.
so,
That is for you all to decide.
Actually, Laura, the way it's drafted, they will be in Group B
yeah, that's what I'm a little confused.
because
I
it
have a
says.
group right now. I'll just give you an example.
Yeah.
I have a group now
Uh-huh.
who is a Tracy nonprofit.
Right.
99% of their players are Mountain House residents.
Mhm.
So
But
right,
as the.
they are a
web-
non-resident
yeah,
organization. They would not be sanctioned under Group B because they do not meet the certain criteria right now.
But so for,
No, Laura, the way it's written, they will fall under Group B.
No, Group B says sanctioned,
Oh,
correct?
Yeah, what does
sanctioned
sanction mean,
nonprofit.
I guess?
On
Yeah.
on opposite page 8, where it says nonprofit verification, this is how you become sanctioned.
Oh, so what you're saying is for being sanctioned, they have to be in Mountain House. Sorry, I missed that. Thank you
Yes,
so much.
Under the way it's written now. Now, the way it's written now has just been taken from other cities. This is
Yeah.
what they have. But you, as your commission, you have the power to decide what you all value more. Now, again, I've taken these from Bay Area cities where they have a large population, they have a large amount of nonprofits, they might not have this issue. We currently have this issue. Perhaps in 5, 10 years from now, when we have more fields, we have more nonprofits, like Commissioner Seer said, we might want to revisit. So,
So are
But,
we
I
gonna,
want to hear more about Mr. Sharma's anxiety about the address. Let's say the sanctioned organization, we remove the and put or between address or 75%. So now they don't have an address here. The principals of the organization live in another city. what other anxiety do you have? I mean, I want to hear about what you're thinking there.
The facilities, availability of facility here, Mountain House, very limited. You will see later on in tennis package, there's a huge issue already there. The population 28,000, 35,000, 40,000, you will see a lot of non-profit from outside coming, and your own residents, you, me, and want to use it, we might not see the availability. We need to think about, this is linked with page number 19, because how you reserve it, this classification give you that advantage. As long as the residents of Mountain House, they stay on, get their, I mean, right now they fall under group D in this scenario. But if they go to B, then group C residents, Mountain House, the last one. So think about that all angles also. Because if you I called Tracy a couple of days ago, Park and Reclamation, and they said we do first come, first serve. We don't look at nonprofit, this, whoever serve first, we take them. They get discount, that's all. So we should be thinking all that as well. That's my point, is because this page 9 also linked with 19, how this discount plays out and how reservation is made. Page number 18, sorry. So that's all I wanted to bring it, that couple of angles also think, and then.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. I see that in tennis because our facility with small courts is overwhelmed, and you know, there are a lot of people coming from outside of Tracy, outside of Mountain House using the courts, and residents don't get to play. And most of the time is booked for coaching and etc. So is there, Laura, can we take a vote on this? Because I don't think we might be split on this. Is that a
At the
possibility?
conclusion of the presentation, when you make a motion, you can make a motion to change any policies in here,
Okay,
and then you'll put it to a vote.
I got it.
Just a comment on that, though. I mean, the example of the tennis court, I mean, if an organization has 75% of its people it's serving inside of Mountain House, that's already prioritizing people inside of Mountain House. So I don't see the address being outside of Mountain House being any different for Mountain House residents, because the people who are serving and benefiting from the facility are Mountain House residents. Whether that address of that nonprofit, I mean, the criteria is the same, yeah?
Yeah, no, I see that also, but you know, again, as far as tennis, so we see a lot of people from outside, and even the people benefiting from are outside of Mountain House. So for that, I
Yeah.
know firsthand.
Yeah.
But other sports, I'm not sure about. Again, the screens.
I mean, could you guys explain a little bit more about you see this in tennis? So how, so the players are from Mountain House, right? In those scenarios.
So there are scenarios where there is coaching happening, and where there might be some kids from Mountain House, but they are also inviting kids from outside of Mountain House. So, but there's, you know, you really can't verify if the kids are from Mountain House or not. So they might start with 10 kids and 7 kids are from Mountain House, but eventually at some point that could change. So in tennis scenario, we're not going to have 100 kids. We, you know, 10 might be a number, or.
Yeah.
Are you talking about rentals or just free play? So there's people renting the facilities to coach tennis, which ties up the courts where people who just want to come and free play can't play. Is that what
I
you mean?
suggest we
That's-
discuss tennis during the tennis item.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
let's, yeah. But yeah, it was an example, but it could be totally different for other sports.
Yeah.
So the tennis might not apply to other baseball or for
So
soccer.
remember, we're just talking about an address, the address of the nonprofit. We're not, so does the address have to be a Mountain House address? Or could it be a non-Mountain House address, but still serve 75% of Mountain House residents? We're just talking about an address.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
okay with that. So we can, you know, I
One
think-
other comment I have on page 9, Laura, is on page 9, item number 2, where it says sanctioned adult nonprofit sports organizations
Mhm.
with at least, then it has this word than. Like that probably just a typo.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Under
The-
group B number 2,
Okay,
that sentence before 75%, it has a word than. I think that's.
oh, that's a
maybe a
grammar.
typo.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's grammar.
Okay, so, all right. I think it seems like everybody's in the favor of allowing, as long as it's 75% Mountain House residents, they're okay if the nonprofit is outside of Mountain House. So I think that seems to be the consensus.
As long as we
It's
validate
just
the
the
roster, yeah.
address. It's just the address. It's not necessarily them operating outside of Mountain House. It's just their address. But they're serving Mountain House.
The reason I was asking for Mr. Sharma about his anxiety, I am wondering whether there is another set of criteria you can put into place.
No, I don't
That
have
would be-
anxiety. I am just bringing the other,
Right, right.
other areas which you should look into.
Very, yeah,
For
very good point.
example,
Yes. Good point. good
going
point.
to, if they're going to be B, I had been analysis before, so I bring that stuff
I
just
totally
as
understand.
fairness. So,
What I am suggesting here,
because that make you guys
instead of
think
the-
also, right? That some points are like, if they go to category B, think about category C, residents will be the last in terms of making reservation.
I think
Not
there's
less.
another way to satisfy that,
So that's what I'm saying is,
right?
so people like who don't go through nonprofit, not everybody, right? Hey, I want to go and play. Oh, it's taken. It's
Right.
taken.
Another way to satisfy that, I think, is for folks to consider is if we say one of the principal officers resides in Mountain House as opposed to address,
One of the principal out of 3
out of however many they have, 3, 5, 7.
okay,
Yeah.
that's a good point. Very good point. That's a good idea.
I do want to circle back to Commissioner Sharma's comment about Tracy. They do in fact have the same allocation process that we have. They do have a first come, first served basis, but it's not for during an allocation process. It's more of just after the allocation process.
So
So-
Raju, you're saying that if there's an organization out of San Francisco and they have no residents in Mountain House, then they don't qualify for being in section group B. Then they'll fall in group D.
Yeah, if they don't meet the roster requirements, yes.
They don't meet the roster requirement and they don't meet the address requirement of at least one member of that nonprofit residing in Mountain House, then they fall under D.
Not quite. What I'm saying is you have to meet the roster requirement
Right.
regardless.
Yeah.
To substitute for the address requirement, you can say principal officer must reside in Mountain House.
I think just adding more complexity is just better. Either we say yes, as long as 75%, we're okay, or, yeah, or the way it is. So I think by having that other, it'll just add more complexity.
It does, yes.
But see, again, there, for looking after, as long as the 75% of Mountain House people are getting benefit out of it, organization can be from anywhere. I can see that.
All right, so since we're only in the first half of the policies, if you find more changes that you want to make, when you make the motion, you will make the motion to accept the changes.
Right.
Accept the policy with the changes, be specific about your change,
Yes.
and then you'll take a vote, just to keep that in mind.
And somebody has to make a motion for change, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, well, if we'll move on, I'm going to jump to this conflicts issue. This is a topic that came up several meetings ago. If two organizations, they meet all the same criteria, they submit their application at the same time, how do staff determine who gets the field? So we based it off of a legacy, what we call legacy organization is one that has been here longer and has served more participants. But if the legacy organization is always played on Mondays, and now they're requesting Tuesday, but we have a new group that's requesting Tuesday, now they're on equal standing. The legacy organization will only be a legacy organization for the same reservation they've had for years on end. Is
That's fair, I
understand-
think. Yeah.
Clear?
Yeah.
Anybody have questions about that?
No,
So
that,
far, we haven't had that happen, but
Yeah.
again, with our growing community and our lack of available fields at the moment, it may happen.
right. Laura, just, I wanna, also in, priority sports schedule, I would like to increase the cricket from April to November. So will that be a motion as well, or that's just?
No, I can make that change.
Okay.
Okay.
Laura, what page was that thing that you just mentioned between the two legacy?
It was right here at the bottom of page 9,
No, page 9.
right under the classifications. If two legacy organizations have always booked fields on Monday and they both want to book it, then I'm going to look and see how many of in your roster do you serve Mountain House residents? If Rhonda's organization, I'm sorry, Commissioner Green's organization is 81% Mountain House residents and Commissioner Singh's has 82%, then the organization with the highest number of Mountain House residents would receive priority. Again, this is just a just in case policy. It doesn't happen very often. All right,
All right.
if it's okay,
Yeah.
Chair, I can move on. It's okay to move on?
Can you repeat that, please? I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure I can move on to the next
Yes,
thing.
please.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So after everything's been sanctioned and everyone's been classified, we are now developing an allocation season. We've developed 2 seasons where all of the organizations will have an opportunity to apply at the same time. So no one will receive a earlier date than the other. The idea is that they all are due at the same time, and then they're all vetted out together. So staff have about 4 to 6 weeks to make sure that all of the organizations receive the fields they want. They're all put in position based on their priority and their classification. If there's any kind of conflict, then they negotiate with the respective organizations. And then the idea is after 6 weeks, by January 15, for example, all of the fields would then be allocated and the permits would be issued. And we divided it into 2 seasons, and it's kind of based on the sports seasons. There may be overlaps. For example, perhaps a soccer might start in July, but it might end in October. So it overlaps 2 seasons. In that particular case, you would submit your application based on the first day of your program. Any questions about the allocation process?
No, none so far.
So the idea is after the allocation process has been complete and all of the organizations receive their permits, we then open it up for short-term allocations. So short-term is anywhere between 1 to 5 uses. It could be a private citizen, it could be an organization that wants to add on. It could even be a coach within one of the Little League that wants to have some extra practice time. And then it's again classified by the group. The group A and B, which going back are city groups, school districts, and your sanctioned nonprofits, they would be able to book 6 weeks out. Then your residents would be able to book 5, and then all of your non-residents and commercial users and all the other nonprofits that weren't verified, they would only be able to book 4 weeks out.
So all that means is that they'll have less availability for, yeah.
Correct.
Just a question, if you remove the 6 weeks, 5 weeks, 4 weeks and leave it first come, first serve, will there be an issue?
No.
Because if residents are number C, this way they have they can leverage things, they can do it other.
They might have some options available, but.
Exactly.
Yeah, but once you are first come first, that means whatever is left is what is, I mean, or they
First-
might,
Group D can come and book it. If it's first come and first serve.
No, group D,
So right now it's 5 week out, right?
Please put your microphone on.
4 week out, right? Group D.
group D, we create some freeze some like not before 4 weeks. But before that, A, B, C, free. Anyone? When that 4 weeks period gone, D can do it. That's what I think other cities do it also.
but then there might not be anything available for them to book.
For
because-
group D,
For group D, because everything might be taken by group A and B, who have open availability 6 weeks prior.
group D still will be able to get something,
Some,
even with this current status also.
yeah, they might be able to, but again, then the pickings will be very limited.
I'm just throwing the idea.
Yeah.
First come, first serve for ABC.
For all of them?
Yeah. ABC and D freeze 4 weeks until wait ABC
That's the recommendation you're making first?
Yeah.
Go?
for short-term field allocation, because residents will get some advantage here. Otherwise, we might see as the population growing, everything is booked and nothing available. So that's what I'm saying. There's only one basketball court with lights. So I'm just thinking about that too.
I think that's a good idea.
Kids are
ABC,
playing there and you
if
don't,
resident can
I know
book
how
it.
my son sometime goes, oh dad, not available, this one, back again. So I'm just think about resident. So that way you remove the partiality and be fair.
So you're saying groups A, B, and C,
First come, first serve.
how far in advance? That's what this policy is about. How far in advance do you want? them
6
to
week or 5 week.
6 weeks. 6 weeks, yeah.
So if we make it first come, first serve for all first 3
All-
groups, right?
yeah,
The
same.
5 weeks will be gone. Now there will be only 6 week and 4 weeks left, right?
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
give one 6 week or 5 week, just one for all ABC. First come, first serve.
So if Laura,
Well,
if you
right.
did-
Well, it's a first come, first serve already. But you need to tell me what kind of policy do you want? Do you want to allow the sanction groups a little bit earlier time? Or do you want to
Yes,
allow?
so earlier time, B also and C also.
So you want to group A, B, and C all together?
Same, yeah, together.
Okay,
And D separate.
okay. So how far out would you propose having groups A, B, and C?
6 weeks,
So they can book 6 weeks and then non-residents 4 weeks.
4
out.
weeks.
Either
Okay.
it could be 4 week or 5 week, doesn't matter.
Yeah, that,
That's up to you.
Yeah.
So I think the way it's written is actually more fair. Because nonprofits, I mean, an individual booking a basketball court or any facility is a very easy decision. I'm making that on my own. A nonprofit has to do a lot of organization to be in a position of making that decision. So giving them that 1 week advantage, I think will actually help them flourish in basically providing facilities. An individual is only serving themselves. A nonprofit is serving a lot of residents typically. So I think there should be some favorability to nonprofit and organizations that are serving the community as opposed to an individual serving themselves.
And this policy is meant to serve the nonprofits, probably not the ones that are even included in the allocation process. It's just your Mountain House nonprofit. They may not even be a sports organization that wants to host a athletic day at the park. So we need to determine, do we want to give them priority over residents and then over non-residents?
See, in the long term, we are already giving them preference, Laura, right?
For the long-term
Yes,
allocation.
here-
This more speaks to the non-sports group, just your regular
Or regular
nonprofit.
residents too, just anybody want to play and something,
That's what,
but the court is not available because it's booked.
that's
by
what
a
I'm trying to
nonprofit.
get
I'm
clarification on.
trying to talk about that resident.
You're
residents.
not talking about, he's not talking about groups.
I'm not
He's
talking about
talking about
reserving the group here,
Just a resident, if him and his son wants to go play basketball,
or anyone, I'm saying.
they should be able to rent the court
Because
They
or
can.
reserve it. That's
They
what, that's
we
what,
don't have to, they don't have to reserve, they just go and play.
That's different. That's not what this is about.
right. You're talking about open play.
Open play is,
No, I know, but I'm saying is when we reserve A, B, C, D, all, we give them a lot of reservation, then what happen is courts will be busy anyway. So even though you open play, but time is not available because it's all booked.
right.
So that's what I'm saying is you can remove the preference A, B, C, all one. That way, first come, first serve.
But it's like that anyway.
No, but 6 weeks, 5 weeks, we can have one simple 6 weeks for everyone.
Okay.
ABC.
I think I'm misunderstanding because I thought you were talking about open play as opposed to organizations. So open play, if you just want to go out and play basketball, there's probably right now some kids playing on the court. Well, they haven't reserved it. That's just open play. And I know most of the time when I go out there, there's probably about 20 kids on the court at the same time because they all want to play. So it's almost like you got to get in where you fit in.
So nonprofits, yes, I
Okay.
got your point. So
And moreover, Mr. Sharma, if a kid wants to play, they're not gonna plan this 5 weeks in advance or 6 weeks in advance. So it's gonna be most likely they just, they've done their homework and they want to go out and play. So I'm not sure that would make any difference to just individual or couple of people who wanna.
no, it's not a couple. I'm saying is just, for example, in summer, you see the basketball leagues in the court for 3-4 hours. You cannot play. Anyone, group of kids coming from their house, they cannot play there because it's reserved. So I'm saying is when you're giving a lot of reservation, ABC, you're not leaving much for the residents to come and play openly. That's my point is. So yes, you can go anytime, but that anytime is not available because it's booked. So that resident is going to feel that, hey, I live here, but I don't get the court available most of the time. That's the point I'm trying to bring.
That's a good point that you're making, but it's also a point that there's kind of nothing you can do about it. That's why the organizations that have the league basketball, if they have reserved that time for 3 hours, they've paid for that time. And so I know the courts are free to the residents, but we just kind of got to get in with, if you see me on the basketball court, just come play with me. That's open play.
Yeah, and I think that's not what we're trying to address here. That'll be just needing more quotes. So your point is valid that there's not enough time and we feel the same way on tennis courts as well. So
I mean, the only way to deal with what Mr. Sharma is saying is to have some facilities which are not even bookable. That's it. They're just open play. Nobody can book this, no organization, no individual, and they're all, yeah. And
Even with that, as soon as it's open,
yeah, of course, I
if
mean, that's,
you might say, I'm gonna go at 4 o'clock and 17 people are there at 3:45. So, it's one of those
it does
situations.
happen a lot of times.
A lot of times,
When
yeah.
you are in a group especially,
Mhm,
they will one son and father, they will come before you 30
Mhm.
minutes and you're done.
mhm.
You can't play.
Or
Right.
another point is some dedicated time leaving for open play. For example, 6 to 8, leave it open for kids to play.
But that's still not addressing your problem because it's open, but kids are already there. So if you want to come play by yourself from 6 to 8, you still might not get to play.
No, totally agree, but I'm saying at least we should have that provision where we don't give them that time to AB reservation.
But that would come in a reservation. You would have to reserve that time. Like if you would have to reserve the basketball courts from 6 to 8.
Reserving, so kids can go and play openly between 6 to 8 is the busiest time, right?
Right, but what we're saying is that everybody's gonna go from 6 to 8. So it's not gonna just be, like we have that now. It's open play and right now, if you walk out there, I can guarantee you the kids are there until 10 o'clock at night
No,
playing
that's
to get
fine.
on the court.
No
So,
problem. That's
you know what I
okay.
mean?
Okay, so I
you-
think,
hang on a second.
we should.
We're discussing item on page 11, the short-term field allocation, right?
and
Right.
Yes.
I just want to explain, if you reserve some time, which is open play, it's actually more acute because it still will be scheduled. It won't be scheduled with us. It'll be scheduled with individuals who will be saying, I want you to go and hold my space over there. So the fight will not go away, it will not solve any problem.
Right.
So, I mean, one of the things that it says here is that this is beyond, the allocation process has already concluded,
Yes.
right?
Correct.
Beyond that, this is the criteria, right? There is, so the group A and B have already gotten their allocations at this point, right?
Mhm.
They are still being given priority of time over group C, right? I think
Correct.
that is where Mr. Sharma has an issue.
Cities, they don't give certain time to anyone. You want to leave something
So
for.
Laura, that might be a good point. We can also look into if we can do completely, this time is not bookable. Just open for residents. I think actually that's something I would recommend for tennis as well. But just coming back to this, maybe we can say
6 to 8 or 5 to 8.
we can make a probably a special section for basketball courts or that's only other
Is
sports
this
we have.
just about basketball courts that you're referring to or all of them?
I think we just make it a blanket for all of them. But
Not for tennis court.
yeah, no, that's a different, but
I'm just kidding.
but Laura, I see a point where, hey, this time is not bookable by group A or group B or group C. This is for residents.
Then for this purpose,
Yeah.
this book is for reservation policies, not for
Yeah.
open policies.
Right.
But in this reservation policy, you can determine what fields you want to open for reservations.
Okay.
Just
yeah.
using an example,
Yeah.
Central Park Cricket Field is only open for reservations Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Anything
Yes.
after 5 is first come, first serve. You would have to put that in your policy. You would have to be
Right.
specifically stated.
Yeah, again, that adds more complexity. I don't think it serves a lot of purpose, but again, that might help in a way.
This short term, I'll just reiterate, this
But-
short term process here
Yeah,
shares the same value of the classifications. It shows that you value nonprofit organizations in Mountain House
Right.
They receive priority and advance notification to use a field. And again, it doesn't just mean a sports group. It could mean any nonprofit. Commissioner Green's nonprofit mentor group wants to rent the Central Park baseball field for a tournament. She would, let's say they're all 75% residents. She would get 6 weeks before her due date to book it,
Yes.
as opposed to a resident.
Yeah, and again, I see a pro and con there because Ms. Green makes sense. She is not a basketball organization, but she wants to use basketball court for that one day. But again, Group Bs who've given allocation, elsewhere also as as a priority, and they're again getting a priority in the short term as well. So it could be that baseball team who's made a who gets their allocation through the baseball organization through minor league, but now they also want extra time and they're still getting a preference for booking that court. So I see a slight conflict there, but I guess
So as if I understand it, alternate Commissioner Sharma is suggesting that groups A, B, and C all be grouped in together. They all receive 6 weeks priority before non-residents and commercial.
yeah, but his at the core of what he was asking was totally different. But I think we've come to that conclusion through this discussion that A, B, and C should be all grouped together.
I concur with that as well.
Yeah.
It levels the playing field a little bit better.
Yeah, I think so. We should go with that. So is that going to be a motion to change that or?
Yep.
Okay.
We move on to the next item.
Change.
So the online rental process is available right now for, I believe it's for some picnic rentals and perhaps some indoor facilities. But what we would like to do is allow the renter that wants to do a short-term rental to do it online. So there's not the whole lengthy application process. So we've devised a step-by-step process here, and we're in the process of getting it set up to do that. So it'll be easier for the renter.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, so in the next one, it's our certificates of liability. This hyperlink here takes you to the municipal code that also outlines what our insurance requirements are. And then on page 13, I added a field category. Initially in the packet that we sent out a few days ago, we didn't have this field category, but these aren't necessarily sports fields. They're just open grass areas at these particular parts that are used for sports. So now we've included them. Any questions about this page spread? Okay. We just kind of defined the equipment and storage again. They need to have permission if you want to put any storage. The encroachment permit is required. It just ensures that the public access isn't blocked and that the district infrastructure isn't compromised in any way. So a football group just can't go and install their own bleachers. Maybe it blocks one of the paths. Maybe they'll hit a sprinkler line. So in order to do that, you can ask for permission. And then when you get it, you'll get an encroachment permit. So we just wanted to make sure that was clear in our policies. A dumpster is required for events that are over 150 people. Again, this is if you're hosting something large like a tournament or an event, a jamboree, maybe an end of season kind of get together. We want to make sure that you get the dumpster.
And there was also a time limit also.
Well, the dumpster is a little bit different. going to the
I'm-
portables,
I stand corrected.
Yeah.
Yes, my
So-
bad.
after our last discussion about it, I did some research on, there's no specific requirements on portables. It's more of suggestions. But I put together this little chart to kind of give you a little bit better understanding. I think we kind of determined that even if you have 150 people after 2 hours, you probably don't need a porta potty. Most of the people coming to your sporting events live in Mountain House. They're only coming to the sports maybe for 1 hour, maybe 2 at the most. But you'll see where it's highlighted a little bit gray, that's when you're going to be required. Because if you have 225 people for a 4-hour event, meaning those 225 people will be at the park for 4 hours, you will be required to have 1 ADA and 2 regular stalls. In addition to getting the portables and showing proof that you've gotten it, you will have to get an encroachment permit, because again, we have to make sure that you're putting it in the proper place and not in the right of way, on the sidewalk or out in the street or in front of somebody's house.
Laura, was it different before?
No, I just kind of enhanced this a little bit. I think we talked about last time that perhaps if you had 150 people for 2 hours, which is the current policy, you probably don't need a portable, but this chart kind of shows what you should have.
I have a question. So for example, for baseball, for minor league or for football leagues, they might have 10 different games during the day, but each game lasts only about an hour. But, everybody's drinking Gatorade and, water, kids need to use the bathroom. So would that exclude minor league or football league to get a portable?
If the football league told us that they had only 50 people on their field at any given time,
Yeah,
but their rental is for 10 hours for the
Right.
day,
yeah.
they probably would not need a portable because those people are only coming for maybe an hour. If the football league had multiple games going on and they had 200 people there for an
Yeah.
hour, then we would say, well, now you're going to need a portable there.
Yes, Ms. Green. Yeah.
In that instance, I think they should have to have a portable because a lot of the referees and the coaches and stuff are there continuously, even though the kids might leave after an hour, but the staff per se is still there all day. So there should be, if you have an event that lasts a whole day, even though some of the participants are only going to be there an hour, you still should be required to have a porta potty for the adults
Yeah, and,
or for whoever's going to continue to be there
and
in
I-
all leagues.
Yeah, and I would say that being part of minor league and football leagues, I've experienced where 1 hour to 2 hour games, still people looking for portables. So people come already filled to brim with water, so they have to go somewhere. So I think the chart is good, but I think even 1 to 2 hours, I think we should probably, if there is a big gathering, we should require to have at least 1 portable.
So you're saying for the duration of the event? So
Yeah.
if you have it rented from 8 to 5, then that's a long time. You should have the porta potties for the duration of the event.
Right, yeah. And especially, for sporting events, I think it is important especially for kids to be able to use bathrooms.
So in the policy, we're telling the renter what is required. So for example,
Yeah.
you have 149 people for 2 hours, at least 2 hours. We are requiring them at least 1 ADA.
Right.
But if you have 74 people for 2 to 4 hours, we're not requiring it. We would recommend it. And the organization may want to get it, or they'll have some upset coaches, upset referees, but we may not require it. So you as the commission have to determine, do we want to require the groups to have porta potty for 74 people for 1 hour? Right now, the policy is 150 people, 2 hours.
Right. So the exception would be, if there is a all-day event, but, but
All
it's,
the event would be in that last category, 6+ hours. Then you definitely need at least 2. No matter how many people. It's really the smaller groups for a lesser amount of time.
That covers what I was saying.
Yeah, I think the way it is reasonable
Mhm.
because, I mean, and it doesn't stop somebody within a 1 hour event with 20 people to still get a encroachment permit and a porta potty. It doesn't stop them from doing that if they feel that they are gonna need it.
Mhm.
Or if they're doing something regularly and they don't have it, but they need it, they're not gonna be doing it regularly because their patrons are not gonna be coming.
Right.
Yeah, so.
so, for example, like, would a minor league game on, on a weekend, they have all, it goes all day, but each game is only about an hour. So would they be required to have a portable or not?
Give me the scenario again, I'm sorry.
So let's say there is a football league and each game lasts about an hour. And, there are probably 75 parents coming for that game. So would they be required to have a portable or not?
Yes, according to this category, they would, because the odds are much greater that there's going to be more need for a porta potty.
Then would you make recommendations based on what event it is, or say if it's a baseball game or baseball league reserving for 6 hours, then they would be required.
Yeah, on the application, they're supposed to let us know how many participants are.
Okay,
participating.
sounds good. Understood. Yeah. I think we can move on.
Okay.
Ms. Green?
Can we look at the smoking policy?
It's the very last page, so we'll get there.
Okay.
Actually, it's in 2 places. So right under the portable potties are the prohibited items. So right now it's still within 250 feet of a youth sports event. This is a California Health and Safety Code. You as a commission can add on to that if that's what you want.
Yeah, because I find a lot of times when people, they follow that, but they go to the entrance of whatever event you're at. So like if we're sitting in here, they'll go stand right outside the door and smoke, but people are coming in and out. And there should be a designated area if people can't wait, if they have to smoke anything. Should say no smoking of anything.
How would you add on to the existing? Because the existing one is 250 feet. That's about a city block, maybe a little more. It also only mentions youth
That's a lot.
sports events.
When I have to walk past to go into something and, I'm smelling cigarette smoke and weed.
250 feet would be about halfway to Safeway.
Can we just say you can't smoke till you get home?
Halfway. Halfway.
Not even halfway. It's right here, man. 150 is not that far. Yeah, it's not that far.
Safeway is not that far, you go ahead.
I do have I want to go back a little bit on the portable restrooms. I do have a question.
Is it,
See, that's the reason we need portable restrooms,
Yeah.
because I think you might be on mute. Press the blue button.
Start working, it's okay, man, leave it.
Yes, because the odds of those 5 people having to use a restroom at some point in 6 hours is greater.
I'm just wondering, is one three in the column number 3? Why don't we just say 1 to 74, 6 hours?
Raj, I don't think so. There is any program where there's only gonna be 5 people for that many hours.
Yeah, that's just a,
What they gonna do over there?
that's just a range, yeah.
I was approached between our last meeting. Right, by people concerned about the rest.
Oh, my gosh,
Were concerned about
really? So is there something that you want to change in there?
But I mean, we have moved from the first time.
Oh, okay.
One other improvement. Yes, please. You know, the 6 hour plus is good. Thank you. Yeah, the only suggestion I have here is for folks to consider is for 1 to 74, the row first here. Can we just say 6 plus hours? 6 plus, just 6 plus hours, they need a restroom.
His recommendation is that for 1 to 74 people, between 4 to 6 hours should be NA as well.
Correct.
It says that.
So
No, it says 188 right now for 4 to 6 hours.
But that's a restroom, right?
Right. But he's saying that don't have a restroom for 4 to 6 hours.
Only after 6, what I'm saying.
So if you have 74 people all together for 4 hours, no restroom break?
I think the restroom in parks would suffice for 4 to 6 hours.
If there is-
Bethany
you
doesn't
mean if
have a
There's only
restroom.
5 people? Then maybe we can change from 5 to 74.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm trying to say is that this is not, this is extraneous for a small group. 1 to 74 is a huge range. That's kind of the point I'm
Maybe
trying to
we
make.
can change it to 10 people, maybe 5.
so I think you'll have to make a motion for that if you wanna have to change that.
Well, what about the other changes? They're all going under some motion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Well-
Laura, can that be changed, make it from 10 to 74 or 5 to 74 or it has to be a motion as well?
I can increase that. That's fine. It's
Okay.
4 people.
Well, I think
Five.
10 is a good number, right? 10. 10 to 74. Up until 10, I think.
Is there a reason why you want to change it from 1 to 10 people?
I think a lot of people have small groups. You know, this one person who approached me, they have family gatherings regularly.
Yeah, but
Um,
practically speaking, 10 people are not gonna book, they're not gonna reserve, they're just gonna do. Yeah. So typically, I mean, yes, it's possible 10 people made a reservation, a small birthday, but most likely people are gonna do that in their home.
For the barbecue or
Yeah.
something. if they
So I agree with what you're saying, but I just think practically speaking, you either do what you originally suggested, that don't have the 4 to, have it 6 plus hours. or, 10 to 74 is not gonna really change anything.
And again, this is for athletic field rentals, not for facilities. So,
I think this would apply to all. right?
It applies to the
Barbecue.
Central Park as well, I believe so.
well,
Yeah.
it does not apply to all because we can make a change in the facilities for this particular
I think
portable.
events are not included in this one. This is just field rental.
These are for athletic field rentals. When we'll be bringing back parks rentals, we'll
Later
bring
on.
back the same
Yeah.
exact
Right.
policy. So you do need to update it now if you'd like to.
Also, okay.
Another thing, I don't think so any family gonna stay in a park for 6 hours, right? Just to do a picnic or something, right? They don't wanna be there for that long. Only big, large group gonna be there for 6+ hours. So I think,
So when
Even-
people do birthday parties, they have 25 people, they reserve it.
but they don't stay there for 6 hours, man. Have you seen anybody staying there? for
Not,
6 hours?
not 4
No.
to 6, yeah.
Yeah, that's too much. I think it's already giving enough.
2 to
time.
4 hours that
Yeah,
usually.
that's a maximum. They stay over there, yeah.
And that's why if we do have a family of 10 that want to book a park for 4 hours, I think we should be requiring them to bring a porta potty.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's why I'm trying to.
It's very unlikely that they will, but
Okay, so you think 10 people should have even a small group?
so really the purpose of this policy is it's a benefit for the general public, and we just want to ensure that the general public is receiving adequate amenities at our parks. We want them to be comfortable.
Or maybe 10 people only allowed to you rent the Central Park or maybe Cordas where we have a restroom.
So there's only 4 parks that don't have restrooms: Altamont, Bethany, Cuesta, and Wickland. Those are the only 4 that we would require them to have.
Yeah. Then they just book another park, I guess.
Okay, that
Perhaps.
piece I did not understand. So this does not apply to a park that has a restroom?
Correct.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood. Then I'll go to the Central Park with my small group.
That's a good compromise.
So I may have missed that, but I mean, if like Central Park has got 2 restrooms, I believe that's 2. So does that kind of fulfill the requirement? So if it says 150 to 224 people for 1 to 2 hours need 1 ADA, 1 regular, so they really don't need to do anything in Central Park because there's already, okay. Good.
Omar, you are safe with your group. You are stuck on 150, so that's why.
I'm not gonna be safe with my group. My group is gonna be 1,000, so I'm I gotta comply.
I think we should order dinner over here.
All right, moving on.
All right, so one of the new things that we're adding is turf management. So we're recommending that the fields that are being used be monitored in order to reduce the impact on the field. This goes back to the weather hotline. So if the city, or I'm sorry, if the district determines that a field is unplayable due to weather conditions, we would like to require that the groups not play on our fields. Right now, they technically can go out there if they want to, because there's nothing in policy that says they can't. But in order for us to maintain the turf so that it's not damaged to the point where we have to close it, or it's damaged to the point where the maintenance during the spring takes longer than normal, we would like to be able to have the authority to close the field. So that's basically what this turf management policy is about.
And where is turf in Central Park? We're talking about,
The turf is just any grass.
Huh?
Any grass area.
that's what you're talking about, grass area.
Mhm.
But there will always be some wear and tear, right, Laura?
There'll always be one.
Wear and tear. is normal, right?
There's normal wear and tear. If it gets too much, we'd like to be able to have the authority to say, you need to limit your play, or you need to move your play, or we need to close the field.
Yeah, especially during rainy season, if you play soccer or football with cleats and the whole turf gets ripped up. So that's what this is going to prevent.
So then CSD will guide the
Yes.
residents.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll have we can stop them from playing. A lot of moving along.
It's not resulting in any fees or anything, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Not yet. Concessions, I think typically the word concessions, you think of food, but it's also means any kind of sale of items. So it's not that we're prohibiting any groups from selling anything. It's just that they have to have the right permits, especially when selling food. We want to ensure that it's safe. And so they need to go through the county to receive that permit.
And do they need any approval from for Park and Rec to offer food or that's just in the part, that's just a part of application where they take, they'll be offering concessions?
Yes, we would ask if they're selling any kind of food or concession. So again, it's not prohibiting the group from selling. They just have to make sure that they get the correct permits in order to do it. And it does have the links to the municipal code as well. So it's already something that's already in place.
Yep.
We have, the fees include application fee, deposits. Those things are due upfront before the rental. So during the allocation process, the renter submits their application. Then we will bill the organization for their deposit and their application fee. Once those have been submitted, then we can go ahead and issue a permit and collect their rental fees.
And I think when you will present the rates next time or whenever, individual will not require application fee. You were saying, right?
No, we'll still have an application fee.
But $5 maybe instead of $20.
It may change, it may go up, it may go down. Right now, I believe they're $20 and $35 is another application fee.
So even if individual is making reservation for one day, they will pay $20?
Yeah, it'll depend. It'll depend on what the pricing guidelines
Okay.
become. Yeah, so they could possibly change.
Or one thing, I mean, so the way you explained, the application will be made. Once the application is processed, then they will pay the application fee. So the challenge with that is, and I know because I deal with this, is people make applications and then they ghost it. And all the work on behalf of the staff is done to actually put it in.
Yeah, we will not, this is for the long-term applicant,
Okay.
for the long-term allocation
Oh,
period. We will not be working out any application until the fee is paid and the deposit's paid.
okay. And
Because in the old days, 5 years ago, we would be accepting a check with an application at the time. But now, since everything is electronic and online, we'll go ahead and accept the application first. Then staff will bill them for the application fee and the deposit. Once we receive that, then we'll go ahead and start the work of allocating the field and entering it into the system.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so on page 18, we have our discounts listed. And again, it goes back to the groups in the classifications. So let's see here. So once we receive the deposit and the application fee, we will then assign them a discount category. So we currently have a bunch of different categories for different fields, and they're a little bit confusing. The current discounts right now for if you rent a park for residents, they get a 50% discount. If you want to rent a field or facility under the existing policy, commercial only pay 20, I'm sorry, these are discounts. Commercials get set 25% discount, private 65, public 75. School district gets an 80% discount. And then nonprofits get discounts between 40 and 80% depending on the number of residents. So it's very confusing. The current policy doesn't even talk about what a resident discount in our fields and facilities policy. So what we devised here under our discounts, it's just simple and it's just right across the board and it clearly defines what discount applies to which group. So for example, Group A, government agencies, school districts, anything, any group with an MOU, they pay 40% of the base rate. So if the base rate for a field is $10 an hour, Group A would get a $4 discount. Now, Groups B is divided into two groups. You have youth nonprofits and adult nonprofits. Youth nonprofits get a discount of 20% and adults only get a discount of 10%. Residents pay the base fee, no discounts at all. And then non-residents pay the base fee plus an additional 20%. Any questions about these discounts?
Base rate, when will those be available? Next time?
Right now, we already have base rates for all of our parks and all of the fields.
Oh, okay, but there is new proposal for base rate
Correct,
coming up?
correct. Yeah.
Okay. Could that matters a lot too. What's the base rate is?
Example, I know right offhand, the baseball diamonds are $12 per hour. The base rate is $12 an hour. So under this new policy, if a non-resident group wanted to rent it, they would pay $12 plus 20%, so $2.40.
My question is there a reason why LUSD and government agency getting more discount? Because they're anyway getting the preference in terms of reservation. Why are they getting higher discount? Because they do charge. LUSD is not doing free session. They charge their kids. Same government agencies.
It just follows the classification rates that we spoke about earlier. So again, it just kind of prioritizes the user groups in Mountain House. When you say government agencies, maybe it's the county might come in and rent the park for events. CSD events have received priority over all of the programs and we don't charge ourselves.
The priority is fine. I think I was talking about the discount, higher discount. You think there should be higher discount?
Sorry, higher discount for,
You want them to pay less?
The first category,
you mean
Why?
that you want to?
20%
Okay.
align with the nonprofit. Because they are anyway getting the first preference in reservation. Plus they're getting higher discount on top of that.
Right now, the school district gets an 80% discount. This new policy is proposing 40% discount. So not quite as much.
I mean, the rates are so low, in my opinion, no one should be getting discount anyways, but if this is I really don't know why anybody's getting any discounts on the rates.
The discount to LUSD reciprocal, I mean, do they provide any discount back to us if we use their facility?
Yes. So for example, we use their tennis courts
Mhm,
and so they reduce their fees. I think we only pay $50 per month for
mhm,
the use of their courts. So they do give us quite a discount.
mhm.
And we use their pool and they've waived some fees. We are only responsible for things like chemicals and their stuff. So it's a fair compromise.
Yeah.
It's fair then.
So it's basically, and I mean, just remember that they are the biggest property owner facility wise
Mhm.
inside a Mountain House. And if they are reciprocating, then it's the benefit of the residents. So residents are getting value through giving a discount to them. And I don't know how frequently they actually end up using
And keep in mind, 100% of their participants would be Mountain House residents.
Correct.
Right now, they only use Cordes Field for their girls softball practice, but other than that, they don't use any of our
Yeah.
facilities. They actually have more facilities than we do.
So I think the way it is right now, it may seem that we're favoring them, but actually it's in our favor as residents, I think, the way it is with the discounts that we're getting. through
Till we
them.
get our own swimming pool and our own tennis courts, it's probably
Yeah.
best to leave it alone the way. it is.
Yeah.
All right, Laura, we can move on to payment plans and payments, or whatever. Where do you want to go next?
Let's see. So this is something new too, is a payment plan. We're giving the long-term rental only the option to pay upfront if they choose, or monthly. And that because we want to relieve the burden on our long-term renter. Some of them may only collect money periodically or monthly. If they collect all their money up front, then they can pay all their fees at the beginning. But with this payment plan, we thought we would give them the option.
What happens if they don't, do you have to,
Then they could lose their rental. So it says here, late payments could result in consequences up to and including cancellation of their permit.
as long it's manageable by the staff, I think it's fine.
So our registration process has this component to it. We could
Yeah.
create a payment plan. It's easy to create and it sends out messages electronically.
Okay,
Ideally, we would like to get it all up front, but we
Right,
can't
yeah,
accept it monthly.
all right. Moving on to the next cancellations.
Yeah, so we just updated the cancellations a little bit. It's actually just a little bit easier. 28 days, calendar days, which is essentially a month. If a group decides to cancel their reservation, they would get all of their fees back and their deposit, just less a processing fee for staff to hit the refund button. But if you're within that 4-week window, the 4 to 3 week window, you would receive your rental fees back, but you would lose your deposit. Because it's harder for staff to try and reallocate that field to another group. But then if you cancel within a 2-week period or less than 2 weeks, 1 day less 2 weeks, you don't receive any of your funds back. So you would lose your deposit and your fees that you've paid for your field. On occasion, the district may have to cancel at that. We would not charge the renter for that. We'd actually prorate any kind of refund or discount for them too. Any questions about the cancellation? Finally, I added this appealing denial or cancellation of a permit. I had this in a previous city because sometimes we may have to deny an organization or a user a permit. And we should be able to allow them the opportunity to come to the commission and appeal. But again, this is up to the commission if they want to deal with that. The commission cannot override a policy. Only the board can do that. But if you hear the argument and you want to make that suggestion, then we have to send it to the board. But allowing the renter the opportunity to appeal, I think is a good neighbor practice.
Sounds fair.
And then again, I added the smoking to the rules of conduct.
Will there be sign for the smoking in the parks?
Eventually, yes.
Eventually, right?
Mhm.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, so just some questions just to ask yourselves. Do the policies make sense to you? Are they easy to understand? Do you think they're fair and equitable for all of the user groups? And do they meet the values of your commission and of the board? And then finally, after creating such a wonderful mission statement, Does this policy serve the diverse user groups in Mountain House and provide exceptional parks? Would these policies create exceptional parks in your opinion? So these are just some questions that I suggest you ask yourself. So again, my final recommendation is that you approve the final draft and recommend the board for adoption. The chair can ask if there's any more clarifying questions. You can open it up to public comment if there are any. And is public. If the final draft is not approved tonight, I can take your comments and suggestions and provide an update for next month's meeting. Or you can create a subcommittee to work with staff to create the final draft to be presented. You also have the option, if you make a motion to approve it, you can make a motion to approve it with said changes. And then if you all vote to approve it, I will include those changes and automatically just take it to the board at the next meeting.
And Laura, there were two items that the commission wanted to have a motion for. One was on
Page 8.
page 8, to change the group B and add remove the principal address must be in Mountain House, so to remove that line. And then the other motion was to change short-term field allocation process to just include, make it all A, B, C, 6 weeks. So
On page 8, are we removing the address requirement or are we saying either that or roster of 75?
No, I think, yeah, I think that's what everybody, wants to be able to serve Mountain House residents. So as long as the roster is 75% Mountain House,
Okay,
they're okay with being an organization from outside of Mountain House. But somebody has to make motion of that, and everybody has to vote and approve it.
I make a motion to allow nonprofit organizations with an address outside of Mountain House serving 75% of Mountain House to be able to operate within Mountain House.
And somebody has to second it.
What about your other change?
Oh, so we can include both in the same motion? Okay. And some motion to change short-term rental for group ABC to 6 weeks. Somebody has to motion all of that together. That's if you want to, you don't, if not. They cannot.
Do you want our attorney to chime in on this one?
Yes, please.
Hi, Laura. Double checking the motion.
So when they make a motion to make the changes, does the person making the motion have to make both changes, or can different commissioners make different changes? So can Commissioner Green made a motion to approve, to remove the requirement for principal address in Mountain House.
Right.
Can Commissioner Green also, should she also recommend the other change, changing the short-term allocation process?
She can, yeah, in the same motion.
Okay, and if she doesn't, can another commissioner do it, or does she have to do it?
No, it's, if another commissioner wants to make that motion, they can.
Okay,
Did that answer all the questions?
I think so.
Yeah, and if, so if she does not agree with the second motion, then somebody else can make that motion, so, right?
That's right.
Do we
So
vote
she
on them
could, she
individually?
could do both, or she could segment it. And someone else can make the other motion, and then it could be second.
So do we vote on them individually or vote on them all together?
So if we're, it sounds like maybe we should just do two separate motions.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and do that.
Is
So
it two separate votes as well?
yes, if
Okay.
it's two separate motions, so Commissioner Green can make the first motion for the amendment. We can vote on, well, second and then vote, and then we can go for the second motion.
Okay.
So that's my motion.
Do we have a second for Commissioner Green's motion to remove dress requirement from the non-organization verification form?
I second that motion.
Do we need to have a discussion again on the point, or we can move to vote straight away to?
Votes.
Yeah. Um,
Please
You could
keep in
open
mind-
for discussion. If there's no discussion, then you can move to a vote.
Okay, thank you.
Camilla, I may ask one more question before they move to vote.
Sure.
Does she have to include the original recommendation with her suggestion?
So is Commissioner Green's the recommendation that had already been discussed during your presentation, Laura?
Mm-hmm.
No, she can make that motion and it can be second, and then it can be, if there's no discussion, it can be voted on.
But they still have to vote to approve the final draft of the athletic field rental policies and recommend to board for adoption.
Hmm.
Does she do that with her amendment?
She doesn't have to.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Okay, yes,
But somebody has to.
yes.
Or I will, we'll take a vote on Commissioner Green's motion to amend the address requirement must be in Mountain House. Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Maninder Singh,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Singh,
Aye.
Commissioner Feister.
Aye.
Aye. So the motion passes with a vote of unanimous vote to approve the recommendation or amendment by Commissioner Green to remove the requirement for having address in Mountain House, nonprofit address in Mountain House.
I would like to make a second motion of removing or modifying the short-term field allocation process by including Group C with Group A and B. And to approve the policy as amended.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We'll take a vote on Commissioner Raj Singh's amendment to include Group C with Group A and B.
As an order of business, you have to open up any public comment and then go ahead and vote.
Are there any public comments? And I think this would be, again, your opportunity to make any comments.
And anybody who's online, if there was anybody online.
And for folks online as well. The ones that joined through Zoom.
One question, Commissioner Nair, the hours limitation not to book certain hours for that will be separate motion. As we were thinking, like certain hours, like basketball court, 6 to 8 PM, not to give to anyone, that should be handled separately? Or does it require motion? Okay.
There'll be, there has to be a motion by one of the commissioners, that's so.
That I thought was covered with this change, your concern under the short-term field allocation change.
All right. So we'll take a vote on Commissioner Raj Singh's amendment for including Group C with Group A and B for short-term field allocation process.
And to approve the policy as amended.
And to approve the policy as amended. Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Maninder Singh,
Yes.
Commissioner Raj Singh,
Aye.
Commissioner Faisal.
Aye.
And aye for me as well. So the motion passes with unanimous vote to approve Commissioner Raj Singh's amendment for moving Group C with Group A and B for short-term field allocation process as amended and approved.
Camilla, does that satisfy our need for approving item 5A?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, sorry, Laura, did we voted to do all the groups together, A, B, and C, and then it was also voted to approve the entire policy, draft policy to be recommended to the board, right? That was that
Yes,
was
Correct.
Commissioner
I think the
Green's second
comment was
motion.
approved policy as amended. Is
Perfect.
that sufficient?
Yep, that's sufficient.
Okay.
Yeah, and for the record, the amendments include the discussion items that were included today.
Okay.
So, yeah, so the last one did both, it approved, yeah.
Okay. Then what will happen next is I'll include these two changes and they'll be presented to the board. And I will let the commission know when it's going to be presented to the board because it may be, we may have to have some of you present in case there's any more clarifying questions or if they have any other, if they need specific information from you all. It may just be the chair, but I would recommend that you all attend. All right, thank you. That's great.
Good
Does
job.
anybody need a break?
We
If
have
not, we
porta
can just-
potties.
I recommend to the chair to adjourn the meeting and
Yeah. We may discuss in our next meeting. Is there? Have a motion?
I think we should be able to get through this one real quick because we should have learned from the first one.
I think the next one is just Laura gonna make a presentation and we'll just have some questions. That's about it. Okay. So moving to the item 6A, review and discuss the draft version of tennis court rental policy. Laura,
Thank you.
please share your recommendation, your
So,
presentation.
staff recommends that the commission review and discuss the draft version and make recommendations for changes. And again, this is just a discussion. We're not voting on anything. I'll bring back any of your concerns to next month's meeting. Whatever you don't address tonight, you can send it to me in an email individually, and I can include it in next month's report. So we'll just go through this quickly. So the board adopted the current policies back in 2020. But even in the last 2 years, the tennis program has grown substantially. Plus, with the addition of the new tennis facility that's coming to Central Park as part of phase 2, it's necessary that we update our policies. So again, our program has grown. It has a 50% increase in court utilization, specifically 5 to 8 p.m. We have an increase of 74% between 8 and 9 p.m. and a 9.5 in the morning and midday. Reservations have also increased 2021 to 22, and then again 10% from 22 to 23. The numbers I didn't show you is it's increased 150% over the last 2 or 3 years since we've started reserving the courts. The increase in reservations demonstrates the popularity of tennis. Several issues have been observed either by staff or have been shared with staff by members of the board and the tennis community. I've kind of highlighted what I feel are some of the most important topics that have come up. There's not enough courts. Commercial users are taking up court time during peak hours. Again, the peak hours are 5 to 8 p.m. Private renters are using their reservations for commercial use. They're just going out and doing private lessons without going through the proper channels. They're canceling their rentals constantly, not giving the public enough time to book it for themselves. We found a lot of creating aliases. We've got Bugs Bunny and Donald Trump renting our tennis courts just so they can book it multiple times because our current policies only allow you to book it for an hour a week. Long-term renters aren't going through the formal rental process. Courts 1 and 2 are often being used at the same time by commercial users. We have lessons on one and a league on another. And all of the courts at the high school, there's only 6. They're being booked at the same time for tournaments. So this is the page 1 of our current policies. I just kind of did a red line of it. The red lines indicate outdated or policies that I think need improving. I'm sorry, staff suggest improving. Again, the fees won't be changed. We'll bring back fees when we update our pricing policy. But the first change staff is suggesting is that long-term reservations be made 28 days in advance and they can reserve it up to 3 months. Right now, the reservations are due by the 7th of the month for the next month only. I believe allowing the long-term renter to book it 3 months out will help with their programming. It will also help staff in managing it because it's a lot of time to constantly input long-term rentals month after month. Number 8, based on historical use, the time should be set to per day and per month. And what I mean is staff recommend that the renters not be able to book more than 5 hours a day during the peak hours and no more than 30 hours in a month. Right now, our commercial users are renting the courts roughly to 30 to 36 hours per week. So they're getting it close to 120 hours a month. It's pretty drastic, reducing it down to 30. But again, the courts are so heavily used by commercial users. And again, the commercial user can be a nonprofit, but they're out there doing a fee to play, a pay to play program, whether it's a lesson program, a league, or a tournament. Those are taking up the majority of our 3 courts. We also recommend for individuals that we allow them to book 14 days in advance. Right now, you can only book up to 7 days in advance. But if we allow them to book 14 days, they can book 2 time slots instead of just the 1.
Is this open for discussion now, or we want to wait till next time?
No, we can open it up. It's
I think for individuals, when we only have one, because if we only have 1 hour per week, that's when all the Superman Donald Trump comes in. So I think as an verified individual, we should allow them at least 1 hour a day, per day. Because if somebody would like to play, multiple times a week, they should be allowed to do that. One hour per week is very limiting. And I think the other cancellations should be, if you open it for 14 days in advance, then not allow cancellations after once, maybe after 7 days have passed.
Yes, so cancellations, staff is recommending they only be allowed up to 7 days before, otherwise you lose your fees.
Right.
And if you have a deposit on file, you would lose your deposit also.
Okay.
So if someone were to cancel their reservation and they didn't get their money back, they can either still use the courts during their allotted time, or it would be considered open and open to the public. So it'd just be open to first come, first serve.
Yes. Screen.
Thank you. Just a quick question, because we'll be coming up with programs in the future. And I know one of the really big things and requests that I've been hearing has been for pickleball, which you share the courts. It's just designed a little bit, but you still share the same court. So how would we be able to implement something like that along with the use of the tennis courts and reservations and stuff? Just wondering, I don't want to exclude future programs by doing so much changing in certain policies.
If I may, at a future meeting, we will be bringing park amenities to you for your review. So the phase 2 of Central Park includes the new tennis facility. At that point, we will bring back the plans for you to review. And at that time, you can have discussion with city staff about pickleball and maybe designating a court or
A different facility altogether with 4 or 5 pickleball courts, because it is really popular all over the place. And I think once pickleball is introduced into Mountain House, tennis requirements would go down somewhat.
Well, it's, the seniors can play it too. So, it's really big with the
Seniors can play
seniors.
tennis as well.
Well, we don't have to run so far in pickleball to hit the ball.
No, I agree.
It's actually more strenuous than tennis, believe it or not.
Well, I've never played pickleball, so I can't comment, but
me neither.
Me either.
I agree with the comment from Ms. Green about having space for pickleball. I play. I would like to see some,
all right.
and I'm sure other folks, I know other people in Mountain House play quite well. Currently, a lot of people go to Livermore to do that.
All right.
So in your packet, staff have provided you with a comprehensive draft. Similar to the athletic fields, it's a little smaller, but it allows the renter to understand the rental process. So again, there's definitions, there's the nonprofit verification form, which by the record for the next meeting, I will include a new update to the verification form. We've updated the booking guidelines. We've recommending Court 1 be allocated for commercial users only and public use. New classifications, new discounts, updated cancellation policy, and then the new appeal policy, which is what we already mentioned before. So again, the policy allows the renter the option to book 2 weeks out, 1 week, 1 hour per week. If you'd like me to update that to include 1 hour per day,
Yes.
it's quite a bit more than what they currently have. And right now the courts are already booked solid.
Yes, I agree. But as a tennis player, I don't mind playing every day. So if the opportunity arises, I would, play more than once a week. But again, I still have to contest with all the other people who are making reservations. So even though I might have that opportunity to reserve it every day, but I might have an option to reserve it every day, but I might not get that opportunity to reserve every day. So I might
So-
still be playing once or twice a week.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
So right now the policy is set up to serve more people with less time. If we allow people more opportunities, we're going to serve less people with more time. So
Why can't we make first come, first serve? More people can be done, right? Served.
No,
the
that's what,
reservation process is kind of a first come, first serve process. Otherwise, you might have people standing out at the courts waiting for hours before they could get on. There'll be lines. The reservation process right now kind of alleviates that.
Is there any hours when you open public can come and play? Is there a time slot? Which
So
you,
the courts are open from 7 to 11. I do have a
Because I
an
think that
updated policy here.
every
um,
city, I think, gives some hours they don't give to anyone, and openly anyone can come and play. Otherwise, courts will be all reserved.
Yes, Sanjay, again, there's a problem with that when it's open, because somebody will be there, they'll grab the court, and then
No.
they'll play for 2 hours and nobody else will. get
No,
the
no, no.
opportunity.
So that how that can be done is because I was in Sunnyvale. When they come in, they sign in for 1 hour. Whoever come, they get 1 hour. Whoever comes, they write down their name, 1 hour. So not 2 hours, so that everybody gets some chance.
So that's essentially a reservation policy. It's just a manual reservation process.
Yeah.
But because we only have 3 courts, that's compounded by 100%. In Sunnyvale, they have large groups of, it's a large tennis complex and they have parks all over town. We literally only have 3. We do need to encourage more people to rent the Mountain House High School courts on the weekends. I don't know if a lot of people want to play there. I don't know if they know it exists, but at least during the week. So I have defined the peak hours. There are peak hours here, which is 5 to 8.
Yeah, so the other thing, Laura, we need to do is limit the coaching from 3 to 6 PM, and then have the courts open for public play from 6 onwards. Because kids are out of school around 2, so they can start the coaching 3, and coaches can go till up till 6,
Mhm.
and then again they become available to public to play, as they please. Maybe we can do 3 to 7 or 3 to 6. I think 3 hours is a good enough window every day.
And we leave 6 to 9 open.
Yeah, but they still have to make reservation on their phone.
So couple of things, thoughts. I mean, one, you obviously mentioned about phantom users, people, coming up. So maybe one way to address that is, I know some of the tennis court at least are caged, so access could be controlled based on, just swiping your driver license or something, so verifying that.
Mhm.
I know it's complicated, it's not straightforward, I'm just thinking aloud. Second thing is that where you have the limit for 1 hour per week, would it make sense to stagger the cost that, the first hour is $3, but any additional hours that you want within that week is maybe a little bit higher. So now you're not preventing people from booking, but they're paying more to kind of play more, to hog that space. So your first hour effectively is discounted
Mhm.
at the level that it is today.
So the majority of our court use is between 5 and 10 PM, and the courts are almost empty between 8 and 5. Maybe you could encourage more like unlimited rentals or more rentals during the non-peak hours and limit during peak hours. You're only allowed 1 hour during peak hours, but you're allowed to book 5 during the non-peak hours.
Are we limiting how many hours of coaching can be done? Because we have.
Yes, so right here under commercial use, we have that maybe up to 5 hours per day. That seems to be the average right now,
5 hours.
but only up to 30 hours per month.
That's all the coaching, or just for one nonprofit or one?
That's for one commercial user, but we're also recommending that only court 1 be utilized for commercial.
Okay, yeah, that's.
So 2 lessons or a tournament and a lesson or a league and a lesson can't take place on court 1 and 2.
Right.
So all these groups are going to be vying for court 1.
Yeah.
During peak hours. And that's why we've initiated the allocation process
Right.
for that.
And the reason is because when it's windy during summers, that's the court that has no wind at all.
Right.
Yeah, it's strange, but that court does not get any wind. And the problem with high school courts is they're always windy. So so there's no barrier or windshield.
Oh yeah, they don't have.
So that's the reason why they don't get used that often. All right, Ms. Green, you have a question, a comment?
I actually just want to kind of piggyback off of what Umar said. I know you said electronic slide your driver's license, but if these courts are rented, then would it be hard to have a printout of the reservation with the person's name and the time slot
No,
so that people will know, like,
no, and that's why we installed that board that's out there. We just
Mhm.
haven't gotten around to using it. It would actually list who's
whose
playing.
time it is?
And if you're on that court and it says Donald Duck,
Mm-hmm.
more than likely the other players are going to be calling me about it, or unfortunately, we just don't have the staff to police it at the moment. And when we get the new tennis facility, this won't be allowed. Another thing that staff have tried to do to mitigate it is now we have to approve any new renter. So when they apply, they have to give me their name and email. So
Is there any functionality in the app to, limit people making false aliases?
yeah, so I've done that twice now.
Or you have removed all those alias, okay.
Yeah.
But when registering, is there a way for app to, have, just register folks
So
from?
now when
or
they
household?
register, it
Yeah.
has to be approved by staff. Before they just registered and booked it.
Right,
Now, before they book it, it has to be approved by staff.
okay. So multiple household members can't register?
So that's happening a lot as well.
Yeah,
Their kids, their 5-year-old kids are reserving courts.
right, yeah. Or their mom who's never played tennis is reserving, yeah.
Is there is a CSD employee printing, like Laura, for example, today, all the reservation,
Yes,
they print and they put it over there?
yeah, that's what we were just talking about.
Okay.
Mhm.
I think that's the right way.
Mhm.
Is it not working?
We haven't started that process yet. But we can do it, yeah.
One more
Um,
question I have is the high school tennis courts. Are they allowing you guys to book it?
Yes, we allow the public to rent it on weekends only.
Only weekend, not weekdays?
No, only when school is out.
So during summer break, winter break, or any other break, then those are available during the weekdays also. But when the school is open, then they're only available on the weekends.
Well, but the tennis season is not all year, right? So even though school is on, tennis season might not be on. Why can't they rent it?
They don't have lights. So, by the time the school is,
Yeah.
we don't want people just walking in during the school hours. So once the school is out, now the girls team has a different season, boys team has a different season. So it is a quite extended season. So they don't overlap. So they're different seasons. So they use courts for quite some time, and when they're done, it gets dark. So that's why. And
Because no, I just brought it because high school doesn't open up its even stadium also for public. Like the big stadium, like
Right.
the track and all that. It's
yeah.
It's supposed to be open for public because it's funded by public. So I'm just saying is there is some room to some negotiation with the
So
district
I think the
For what?
negotiation
to
is up.
allow public to use their facilities. I'm just
That's a
bringing-
different discussion.
That's kind of different
Yeah,
discussion, yeah.
In fact, I'm taking the tennis courts and the pool agreements to the school district at their next board meeting. Actually, it's a facilities meeting on
Yes.
February 1st.
Swimming definitely, because such a big pool and people are not able to use it. I feel surprised that why we are not getting this benefits.
We use the pool during the summer.
Huh?
We use the pool during the summertime.
But other cities allow other time also in the night to pool to be used.
Not during the day, not during when school's in
The day.
session.
Even
So LUSD actually does allow the school field to be used, the high school field to be rented out as well. They give precedence to any school activity over anything else. The reason they don't do the swimming pools is because it's not is for the lack of guards, basically. So it's a big responsibility. And that's how basically I think the CSD got into the agreement by taking that responsibility for
Mhm.
it. Yeah, so.
Right.
So they do allow, and I mean, yes, they should allow more than they should do, but obviously that's not something for us to kind of figure out.
Well, that's why I think the discussion needs to take place because like,
I think
That's a
let's
different
let's
discussion.
get back to tennis court facility for now. And a lot of quick questions. So on the weekends also only court 1 is available for coaching, or court 1 and 2 are available because the way it is at present.
So one of the biggest concerns from the public is not enough court space is open.
Yeah.
So staff is suggesting that we limit commercial use to court 1 only. That would open it up to public use.
All 7 weekends are not weekends have no exceptions. Still court 1.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
It's fine. Sounds good.
And again, this will be brought back next month too, if you have different thoughts later. League play, right now, league and tournament, let's see, I'm sorry. Oftentimes leagues and tournaments want to book all 6 courts at the high school. And in order for us to meet the demand of the public and their requirement to play on more courts, staff suggests that we only limit it to 3 courts instead of all 6. This long-term use policy would allow the private user the option to pre-book their courts, but they'd have to apply like other groups. So if Commissioner Vishal just wanted to rent the court for his family for a long period of time, you would submit it like a long-term user or a commercial user. And again, canceling the courts, this policy will hopefully prohibit cancellations because if you've canceled within 5 times, then you'll get a notice on your account that you can't book for 28 days. So that kind of penalizes the renter who constantly cancels their rentals. Again, a private lesson is considered commercial and they must apply to use the courts. And by apply, that just doesn't mean that they can go on and book it. They have to apply like a regular long-term user. So they'd have to admit an application, their insurance, a complete schedule. So again, the classifications are exactly like the field rentals classifications. Insurance is exactly the same limits, same terms. Court use, these is pretty standard, same as other policies. Some have the municipal code attached to them. There's nothing really out of the ordinary. And these prohibited items here that are listed were all on the previous rental policies. And because the only courts we have are here at Central Park, there's no need for a restroom. But we will not be requiring any portables at the high school, but they're only there for an hour anyway. Again, the fees aren't changing. Right now, they're $3 per hour for residents and $6 for non-residents. Again, the discounts are the same as the field policies were. Because the rental fees are so minimal, they're only $3 per hour. If somebody cancels and wants a refund, we'll just apply it as a credit. Because if it's under $15, we'll just leave it on their account. But if it's over $15, then we'll go ahead and give them a complete refund back to their form of payment. Again, the cancellation is if you cancel 7 days or more, we'll give you full credit and refund. It's not that difficult, but 6 days, you won't receive anything back because it's then hard to book it with the public. Actually, it probably wouldn't be too difficult to rebook it, but it penalizes the person that's always late in canceling their reservation. Again, if someone gets denied a permit, I'd like to open it up to allow them to appeal it to the commission. And then we just have the same general rules of conduct. So again, questions to ask yourself, do these policies make sense? Are they easy to understand? Does it address all of the concerns from the public? Do they meet your values and the commission's values? Do they serve the diverse user groups here in Mountain House? So staff recommend that you review and discuss these recommendations, which you've already discussed. Open it up to any other public comment, if we have any tonight. Confirm the draft copy includes, does it open up more court time? Are commercial users limited to a single court? Does it allow private renters able to book the courts, pay fees, submit insurance? It ensures that renters aren't canceling their rentals. Long-term rentals are booked far out. Court 1 is designated as commercial use. Only 3 courts at Mountain House High School are booked. The commission may incorporate community feedback, and then suggestions will be incorporated into a draft for the next meeting. So I did get a lot of your comments today. I feel like there might be more
Yeah.
suggestions.
Yeah, there might be more suggestions. And Laura, I would also like to add that if somebody's found misusing their reservation, making reservation for themselves and then using it for coaching, their privileges should be, taken away at least for 6 months for reserving courts.
How long?
For 6 months?
6 months?
Yeah. That's 3 months? Or 1 month?
Maybe like 30 days.
30 days. Well, so, yeah, I mean, that's just to discourage, because there are a lot of people who just make reservation under the name and then they're coaching. And they do that for multiple hours. So that, and this is all first-hand experience. So that's where I'm speaking from. So that's the reason. So we can figure out the term, like, 6 months, 3 months, a month. But yeah.
Let me understand what you're saying. You're saying that people are making reservations for themselves, but they're using that reservation to coach.
Using it for commercial use, yes,
Kat, can you put the presentation back?
Yes.
So a private coach cannot use their own name to reserve a tennis court for coaching?
So private coaching would be that if I go out with my son or my daughter and I'm coaching them for an hour, that's fine. But if you are booking under your name and then you have 10 kids there and you're collecting, $20 an hour of, whatever from them, that's commercial. That becomes commercial at that point. So that is preventing other people from using courts, whereas you are profiting from, the commercial activity. And none of the revenue, I mean, it's so minimal anyways, like $12 or $6, but still that is prevented, the revenue from city of Mountain House, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, please continue, Laura.
We'll move on to our next item.
All right, so there's no any public input from online. No. All right, so I think we've already had a discussion. So I mean, thank you, and this one is really dear to my heart also. So we'll have some more discussion on this one. Thank you. We'll provide more input for the next meeting. Okay, so do you want to go to 6C, future agenda items?
This isn't working.
Did we do 6B already?
We're doing
Sorry,
6B.
Next
I-
time.
Okay, so staff
So-
recommends that the Mountain House Parks and Rec Commission review the current recreation programs offered by the district and discuss ideas for new programming. So at your regular meeting in December, several commissioners requested to discuss new program ideas at this meeting. So programs may be considered educational, recreational, celebratory. Education and recreation classes are typically taught by highly skilled instructors. And right now, staff are developing a contract instructor handbook with policies and processes to become an instructor in the district. Other popular programs right now, if programs aren't just classes, it includes musical, religious, and cultural events, and we have a very robust library program too, so keep that in mind. So right now, current trends in recreation, again, number one, pickleball. It's usually popular everywhere and it's discussed everywhere. Sports lessons, soccer classes, even cricket lessons, tennis lessons are hugely popular. Art, both for adult and youth, are always very popular. Lego building has been popular for some time, but it continues to get a following. It's almost a cult following, Legos. Engineering and coding is huge, especially in this community. There are other vendors in town that offer engineering and coding, and I know that they're really successful. Themed camps, week-long summer camps are pretty popular. Most every recreation agency offers one. We offer one with our youth action committee during the summer. STEM and STEAM programs are big for youth. Fitness is always popular. Adults, dance, fitness, yoga, cross training, indoor, outdoor fitness. A huge popular program is Movies in the Park, which we brought back a couple months ago that the board approved. So we'll be bringing Movies in the Park this coming summer. And then active senior programs. So we have younger baby boomers in their 70s, and we've got older Gen Xers that are in their 50s and above. So we've got really active seniors now. So available facilities, we have 7 parks, all with great fields, picnic areas, sports courts. We've got the Unity Center, which is a large hall with outdoor areas. Is that correct? Outdoors, tables, chairs. We have our Firehouse Community Room. Again, it's a smaller classroom, tables and chairs. We've got Town Hall's TH1 room down near the library, which is a large classroom, tables, chairs, and a projector. So we do have a number of good sized facilities. Some things for you to consider, though. What does the community really need? And what does the community really want? Do we have the available budget right now? Are our facilities, even though we have quite a few, are they actually available? And can our staff, which is 2 full-time and 2 part-time, handle a large amount of programs? So these are things for you all to consider. So the staff recommends that the commission just share your ideas and how you all want to interact with the public to get their input. I would advise maybe inviting the public to a future meeting to discuss it or schedule a special meeting. I don't know that you need a special meeting, but I would definitely invite the public. I would participate in district-sponsored special events. Our biggest events are Music in the Park. We have a booth. It would be great if you wanted to come out and meet your community, get feedback from those events. And then survey your respective communities, all the ones that you are all involved in, and then share it back here at the meeting. Any questions?
Is there a survey which, Laura, last time you were asking will be sent out? One of the feedback is getting feedback from the public through survey. There are many ways, but one is survey, second is town hall, and third is like in event, you invite them, CSD event. So I think you had some update,
Yes,
right?
staff is prepared to do the survey. We just haven't gotten around to it.
Okay.
So, yeah,
We will be able to see it. Commission will be able to see it. Okay.
My quick question was that are these all the programs funded by Parks and Rec, or would they'll be charged for yoga or for STEM classes or for?
So at a future meeting, I'll be bringing back a pricing guideline policy. So the more the individual benefit, the more cost recovery it should be, meaning the fees are put onto the participant.
Right.
If it's more of a community benefit, then the district would be responsible for paying for it. So just an example, Movies in the Park is a complete community benefit. The district pays 100% for it. But if we offered a private swim lesson, that's almost 100% personal benefit.
Right.
Maybe 80%, 20% is we want to keep kids safe and teach them swimming. but the other 80% is their personal benefit. So the fees would be put back onto the participant.
That makes sense. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Um,
Yoga, meditation, kids Zumba is very famous. Bingo night. Something seniors can play also.
all right, sounds good. All right, all right. So any other commissioner has any clarification questions? All right, no public comments. Okay. All right, thank you for everybody's input, and Laura, please bring some more updates to us during the next meeting.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so future agenda items, you've created your mission statement. Ideally, though, we would still like to create your goals and objectives. However, we do have more policies that are coming online in the next few meetings, and if it's like tonight, there'll be a lot more discussion on that, but
Yes.
eventually we'd like to get around to establishing goals and objectives. You will be reviewing park amenities at next month's meeting. And we are also in the process of doing we have a park naming policy already in existence. We have a committee made up of 2 board members, President Disco and board member Sue.
Okay.
And they are part of this naming committee, and they've chosen a location and a name, which I won't share tonight, but we'll be bringing that back to you as well. Again, just on the rental policies, we'll be finalizing park and picnic next month. We'll be reviewing the indoor rental policies, which will be as compact or as robust as our park facilities, just to give you a heads up. And we're developing new event policies, special event policies. Also, we'll be bringing back the pricing guideline and policy. And part of that is looking at our current fees and really assessing, are we charging too much? Or are we charging too little, and what's fair? So hopefully the pricing policy will help guide you in creating new fees. And a sponsorship policy too. We'd like to start seeing if any of outside organizations or businesses want to help support our programs, and it'll help support all of them. And then again, the recreation classes. So we'll be serving the community. I really encourage you all to attend our special events. Come back with feedback from your respective communities on programs you want to see. We're already starting senior programming at the firehouse. We're doing it on the second Mondays of the month. We had staff meet with our current yoga and art instructor today. We're going to incorporate them with our vintage senior program and really start developing a bigger senior program. And that concludes my report.
Are there any comments from public? Any input from commissioners?
How do we bring more people here in the back? Public, I mean, I think just we should think about some idea next time bring.
Yeah.
I do have a question about that, or maybe our council can help. So once the agenda is published, which is a certain time frame, 72 hours, I guess, or and agenda is public, at that point, if a commissioner shares the agenda through social media, that should be okay, right? Or not?
Yeah, just share it. That's fine.
Okay.
We need to find, Laura, how to bring more people. You put on Facebook. So I was part of transportation committee. I'm still it. I used to put
Visha,
sometime.
Sorry to interrupt you. We will discuss that in next meeting, how to bring more people.
And I want to be clear that posting it on social media, things that relate to your official capacity as a commissioner can create a Brown Act violation if it then becomes interacted with. So generally council's recommendation is to not post anything on social media as it relates to your official capacity.
Can they
Because remember
forward
the Brown
an
Act of
agenda?
things, if people start interacting with it or other commissioners interact, even just thumbs up, that can be considered communication and create a meeting under the Brown Act.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
So using Transportation Commission as an example, I think people that attend those commissions, and this is just my opinion, are people that are interested in transportation and what's the future of it. Perhaps if we sent the agenda to our past participants, we've got a whole database full of people that have either rendered our facilities at one point or participated in our programs. So we could push it all out to them. They may not even know we exist right now. They may not know that there's meetings. So we can find other ways to invite people. Number 7. Microphone.
Park and facilities report, please, item 8.
Oh, did you still want it? Are you done with number 7?
Number 7, item 7, any comments by commissioner on non-agenda items? Staff, do you have any additional items?
No,
In item 8, park and facilities.
I do have a park and facilities report for you.
Yes.
It'll be brief. All irrigation is off at the parks. The landscape contractor is working on irrigation system checks right now and repairs, getting ready for spring. Mowing is being done every other week, depending on the weather. Landscape contractor is doing leaf cleanup and detail on shrubs. At Central Park, the landscape contractor is pruning shrubs and grasses. They'll be starting the first week of February. But by the end of February, all the parks will be sprayed and broadleafed and fertilized. On January 18, we'll be meeting with the landscape contractor to check infields to see if there are any repairs that need to be done, and they'll be scheduled. And at Central Park and Wickland Park, the landscape contractor is installing DG, I don't know what that is, on the grass areas that were fenced in for storage. So every month I'll provide you with a brief update of what's going on at our parks. And that concludes that report.
Thank you, Laura, for the report. Right, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Commissioner Green moves to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
I second.
Commissioner Rothsing seconds. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Meeting is adjourned until February 21st, 2024. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating.
Thank you.
Thank you.